Hello Leafs Nation, I'm Rick Scarborough and you're watching Blue and White Weekly, where we bring you weekly updates on the Leafs and the hockey world at large. I'm decking my halls with boughs of holly, but that's not what's important. What's important is we have a brand new week of Maple Leafs hockey to talk about, so let's get into the news. Before we get into this week's episode, a quick announcement for you all. A friend of mine is a producer on a new song called Susie's Song, I Want to Drive the Zamboni. It debuted tonight at Scotiabank Arena during the first intermission of the Leafs and Islanders game, and it's out now on YouTube and Amazon Music, and soon to be up on Spotify and Apple. Links are down in the description if you want to check it out. Please take a look. It is a fantastic song, and it would mean the world if we can get this thing to take off. Now let's take a look at some news from around the NHL. The New York Rangers continue to make headlines, and not for the right reasons. After trading captain Jacob Trouba to the Anaheim Ducks and extending goaltender Igor Shesterkin, they visited the last-place Nashville Predators on Tuesday night, where they would healthy scratch forward Kaapo Kakko and proceed to be shut out by the Preds. This was the Predators' 9th win of the year, as they remain the only team in the NHL to not crack 10 wins on the season so far. Following that loss, Kaapo Kakko made some comments to the media regarding his scratch, saying he was surprised to not be in the lineup and that he supposes it's easy to pick on the young guy when making those decisions. The Rangers responded in a very calm and mature way by trading Kakko to the Seattle Kraken. Kakko was the second overall pick in the 2019 draft and has put up 14 points through 30 games this year in New York. In return, the Kraken have sent the Rangers defenseman Will Borgen, as well as a 3rd and 6th round pick in this year's upcoming draft. And speaking of the state of New York embarrassing itself, the Buffalo Sabres continue to make people sad. Following last Sunday's game against the Maple Leafs, which was their 10th straight loss, owner Terry Pegula paid the team a visit prior to their game in Montreal to let them know, quote, the answer is in the room, and that there's no plan for trades or assistance anytime soon. The Sabres followed up this inspiring speech with a 6-1 loss to the Canadiens that night and a 6-3 loss to the Leafs later in the week, but more on that game later. It was announced earlier this week that goaltender Anthony Stolarz would miss 4 to 6 weeks for knee surgery after scans showed what looks like, quote, almost like a little pebble that was stuck behind his knee, says Leafs GM Brad Treliving. That's all well and good, Stolarz, that you got a little pebble behind your knee, but I've got a whole rock behind mine.
Do you smell what the rock is cooking?
But now for the games of the week. On Wednesday night, the Leafs took a trip down south to Dallas for a face-off with the Stars. Joseph Woll took the net for the Leafs and faced 25 shots for the first 2 periods, letting only 2 goals slide. Jake Ottinger, however, had less success at the other end of the ice, allowing 4 goals on 12 shots before being pulled at the end of the second period. 3 of those 4 goals came from the third line of Bobby McMahon, Max Domi, and Nick Robertson, with each man finding the back of the net during this game. Obviously that's special for all of them, as each guy's had a slow start to the season, but it meant even more this time for Nick Robertson, as his older brother Jason was on the other side of this matchup. Through 5 career games against his brother in the Stars, Nick has 3 goals, an assist, and is a +5. If we can hypnotize Robertson into thinking his brother plays for every other team in the NHL, we'll be laughing. The Stars clawed one back with the extra attack here, but it was William Nylander who called game with an empty netter for his second of the game, and the Leafs leave town with the win 6-2. Skipping ahead to Friday night, the Leafs took on the Buffalo Sabres for the second time in 6 days. Despite being south of the border, this game may as well have been a Leafs home game, as the crowd, as stated on the broadcast, was about a 90-10 split in favor of the Maple Leafs. With Anthony Stolarz out for the foreseeable future and the Leafs wanting to rest Joseph Woll for Saturday's game, veteran goaltender Matt Murray was called up from the Toronto Marlies to play his first NHL game in 629 days. Murray's last start was April 2nd, 2023 against the Detroit Red Wings, where he played only 16 minutes before having to leave the game following a collision with a Red Wings player. Prior to the game, Sabres coach Lindy Ruff made some tongue-in-cheek comments regarding the Leafs fans that always travel down the QEW to support their team, saying, quote, "If we can play well, we can take the fans out of the game." The Leafs laughed at that strategy and scored 1 minute and 29 seconds into the matchup, their fastest goal so far this year. The Sabres tied the game up soon after, but the goal was disallowed due to an uncalled high stick. So not only did the Sabres lose a goal, but they went on a 4-minute penalty kill right after. They didn't need to defend for the full 4 minutes, however, as William Nylander found Austin Matthews on the power play, and the captain has his 11th of the season. From there, the Leafs ran the show, going up 5-1, with 3 of those goals coming once again from each member of the third line, which I'm now calling the McDombertson line. Max Domi now has goals in 3 straight games, as well as a total of 5 points through those 3 games since joining John Tavares on the Amulet bandwagon. And I'm not even joking about it anymore. Do we need to have a discussion about this thing? Because the whole Amulet situation is getting weird. Domi just suddenly got good once he announced that he had an amulet. It's freaky, man. Before the end of the second, however, the Sabres began to show signs of life, even clawing back to within 1 in the third, but once again, a called back goal to keep it 5-3, and William Nylander gets his second empty netter in as many games to seal the deal 6-3. With an assist on Nylander's empty netter, John Tavares has now tallied 600 assists throughout his NHL career, becoming the 102nd player in NHL history to achieve this feat. Fast forward 24 hours to Hockey Night in Canada with the New York Islanders in town. It was announced Saturday morning that the Leafs would be without Austin Matthews in this game, as the Sabres game re-aggravated the injury that plagued him throughout November. The well-rested Islanders dominated the tired Leafs out of the gate, scoring 2 goals in under 5 minutes to open up the game. The Islanders would continue to grow their lead, but William Nylander kept the Leafs in the fight, putting up 2 goals to extend his point streak to 6 games. Nylander also has 6 goals in that 6-game stretch, with 2 goals in both this game and the Dallas game earlier in the week. The streak stayed alive as well for the third line as Bobby McMahon scored late in the game, but his and Nylander's goal efforts just weren't enough as the Leafs lose 6-3 on home ice in this one. Looking ahead in the week, it's a matinee matchup on Monday against the Winnipeg Jets. Then after the Christmas break, it's another back-to-back as the Leafs take on the Red Wings in Detroit on Friday, then back home on Saturday night against the Washington Capitals. We'll have all those games for you next week, plus extensive coverage of the World Juniors, beginning with a tournament preview on Monday, so be sure to turn on post notifications so you don't miss a thing. And from all of us here at Blue and White Weekly, thank you very much for watching. Be sure to like and subscribe. Have a very Merry Christmas, and remember, go Leafs, go. We'll see you next week.
I wanna drive a Zamboni at a hockey game, cleaning the ice as they call my name. It's a wonderful dream, one I hope comes true. So please, Santa, please,